We begin today's show looking at U.S.-China relations and President Trump's threat to resume nuclear weapons testing. President Trump and President Xi Jinping met in South Korea and agreed to a one-year trade truce. But the trade deal was overshadowed by Trump's announcement that the U.S. would resume testing nuclear weapons for the first time since 1992. Just before his meeting with Xi, Trump wrote on Truth Social, quote, "Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately," Trump wrote.
It's unclear what President Trump was referring to. Russia and China have not tested a nuclear weapon in decades. North Korea last tested one in 2017. Trump spoke briefly with reporters after his meeting with Xi, flying back to the United States.
It had to do with others. They seem to all be nuclear testing. We have more nuclear weapons than anybody. We don't do testing. You know, we've halted it many years ago. But with others doing testing, I think it's appropriate that we do also.
Any details around the testing, sir? Like where, when?
It'll be announced. You know, we have test sites. It'll be announced.
Trump's threat to resume nuclear tests comes just months before the last major nuclear arms control treaty between the United States and Russia expires. The new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or New START, expires February of next year. We go right now to Dr. Ira Helfand. He's an expert on the medical consequences of nuclear war, former president of Physicians for Social Responsibility, which won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1985. He also serves on the steering committee of the Back from the Brink campaign. He's today joining us from Winnipeg, Canada, where he's speaking at the 5th Youth Nuclear Peace Summit. Dr. Helfand, welcome back to Democracy Now! You must have been shocked last night when just before the certainly globally touted meeting between Trump and Xi, Trump sent out on social media that he's going to begin testing nuclear weapons, comparing it, saying that we have to test them on an equal basis, referring to countries like Russia and China. Can you explain what he is talking about? They, like the United States, haven't tested nuclear weapons in decades.
Good morning, Amy. Actually, I can't explain what he's talking about because it doesn't make any sense. As you pointed out, Russia and China have not tested nuclear weapons for decades. And I think the most important thing right now is that the White House has got to clarify what President Trump is talking about. If we really are going to resume explosive nuclear testing, this is an extraordinarily destabilizing decision, and one which will increase even more the already great danger that we have of stumbling into a nuclear conflict. But they need to clarify this because, as you pointed out, the statement doesn't make sense in terms of what's actually happening in the world.
And Dr. Helfand, what would these tests entail were this to actually occur the way that Trump has said?
Well, again, it's not clear what he's talking about. If he is speaking about resuming explosive nuclear testing, presumably this would not be in the atmosphere, which is prohibited by a treaty which the United States did sign and ratify in 1963, but it would be underground nuclear explosions. And the principal dangers there, I think, is political. This will undoubtedly trigger a response by other countries that have nuclear weapons and dramatically accelerate the already very dangerous arms race that the world finds itself in today. The one perhaps value of this statement is that it helps to draw attention to the fact that the nuclear problem has not gone away, as so many of us would like to believe. We are facing the gravest danger of nuclear war that has existed on the planet since the end of the Cold War, and possibly worse than it was during the Cold War. And this comes at a time when the best science we have shows that even a very limited nuclear war, one that might take place between India and Pakistan, has the potential to trigger a global famine that could kill a quarter of the human race in 2 years. We have to recognize that reality, and we need to change our nuclear policy so that it is no longer based on the idea that nuclear weapons make us safe, but that it recognizes the fact that nuclear weapons are the greatest threat to our safety. And for citizens in the United States in particular, I think this means doing things like are advocated by the Back from the Brink campaign, calling on the United States to stop this tit-for-tat exchange of threats with our nuclear adversaries and to enter into negotiations with all 8 of the nuclear-armed states for a verifiable, enforceable agreement that will allow them to eliminate their nuclear arsenals according to an agreed-upon timetable. And so they could all join the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons at some point when they have completed this task. This idea is dismissed sometimes as being unrealistic. I think what's unrealistic is the belief that we can continue to maintain these enormous nuclear arsenals and expect that nothing is going to go wrong. We've been lucky over and over again. This year alone, 5 of the 9 countries which have nuclear weapons have been engaged in active military conflict. India and Pakistan were fighting each other. That could easily have escalated into a nuclear war between them, which could have had devastating consequences for the entire planet. And we keep dodging bullets, and we keep acting as though that's going to keep happening. It isn't. Our luck is going to run out at some point, and we have to recognize that. And we have to recognize the only way to guarantee our safety is to get rid of these weapons once and for all.
Dr. Helfand, before we conclude, just about the timing of Trump's comment, which came just days after Russia said it had successfully tested a nuclear-armed missile, which it said could penetrate U.S. defenses. Do you think Trump was responding to that without perhaps understanding that there was a difference between that and carrying out explosive nuclear tests?
It's certainly possible, and the timing suggests that may be what's happening. But again, the White House needs to clarify this statement because as it stands, it was an explicit instruction to begin testing at the test sites, which suggests nuclear explosive testing. I suspect that is not what the president meant, but at this point, who knows?
Right. It was nuclear capable, not nuclear armed. And finally, I mean, he's talking about doing this immediately, instructing what he called the War Department, the Department of War. Isn't the Energy Department in charge of the nuclear stockpile? And aren't scores of nuclear scientists now furloughed during the government shutdown? Who is maintaining this very dangerous stockpile?
But that was another striking inconsistency in that statement. It is not the Pentagon, which he referred to as the Department of War, that would be conducting nuclear testing if it recurs. It is, Amy, as you suggested, it's the Department of Energy that is responsible for this activity. So again, another area in which the statement is just confusing, puzzling, and needs clarification. And I think, you know, this is a really urgent matter because as it stands, the statement itself is destabilizing. It raises tension. It creates further problems. And we don't need that anymore.
And opens the door for other countries, is that right, to test nuclear weapons?
Oh, absolutely. And that would be, you know, there'd be absolutely nothing the U.S. could do that would more undermine our security at this point with regards to nuclear weapons than to resume testing. It would give a green light to many other countries to resume testing as well and lead to a markedly increased instability in the global situation.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.